first thing is, you guys already know this, there's 2 different exit tickets. So folks, make sure your exit ticket says A if you're like trying to adjust your answers. If you got exit ticket B, this isn't you, okay? So, y'all, let me tell you some of the mistakes I saw. Some of us kind of couldn't figure out where the variable goes, and a lot of people put the variable next to the 7. So what I want to say is, let's remember we got to figure out what would the variable mean. Where does it come from? Where do I find what the variable is? The variable is what we don't know. What did I tell y'all where to go to find that? Y'all remember where I told you where to go to find it? I don't remember.
For every minute?
Well, it's the last sentence where they're asking you the question. Y'all, variable is what you don't know, so the question is how many minutes. So y'all, that's got to be the variable. That's what you don't know. So your variable is how many minutes is the number of minutes. And remember, what does that get associated with? And like Luke was saying, this says $1.25, and what does it say after that? For every minute. So I know the $1.25 goes with the variable. Okay? And y'all, that's important because when you guys, some of y'all put the X over here, you thought you were supposed to subtract $1.25. And see, that's not the way it is. To solve it, you're supposed to subtract 7 first. You subtract 7 and divide by $1.25, and you come out with 29 minutes. Okay? People said they didn't, a few people were like, I don't understand what you want here. Well, I just wanted to know what your answer meant. What's the 29 mean? Well, first of all, 29, the question was how many minutes did he get to jump on the trampoline? So what does 29 mean? It means he got to jump on the trampoline for 29 minutes. Okay, question there? All right. Okay, that was an equation. Okay, here was your inequality. Your inequality. So let me tell you what I saw here. The biggest mistake that I saw was we did not remember that less than is a turnaround phrase. So the 4 was supposed to go to the back, and the twice a number was supposed to come to the front. A lot of y'all wrote 4 minus 2x. And if you wrote 4 minus 2x, you started getting a negative, you got a negative inequality down here. So that was the first mistake. Okay, knowing that less than is a turnaround phrase. Twice a number is in the back in the sentence, but it goes in front of the minus sign. 4 is in front in the sentence, but it goes behind the minus sign. The other mistake was remembering what at most was. At most is a less than or equal to sign. Then we solved by adding 4 to both sides and dividing by 2. Boom. Any questions on exit ticket A? Most of y'all did a fine job. Y'all, if you didn't do a fine job, you need to put this in your brain. Less than is a turnaround phrase. You need to know what is at most, at least, maximum, minimum. Those are going to be the phrases that are going to pop up. Okay? All right, exit ticket B. So again, double check what your exit ticket is. These are supposed to try to be the same ideas. So again, the mistakes that I saw were not knowing where the variable goes. Well, how do we know what the variable stands for? It's the question, how many minutes? So the variable is minutes, $1.15 for every minute. So the X goes with the $1.15. Subtract 6 from both sides, divide by $1.15. And again, I skipped steps. The answer is 43. No decimals, no nothing. And then what does it mean? And again, this is not complete. I just was writing out my key. What it means is Raymond got to jump on the trampoline for 43 minutes. Most of y'all got that. 1 or 2 people just wrote, I don't know. But y'all, we got to understand what that means. Okay? And how would I know what it means? Well, here's the question. How many minutes did he jump on the trampoline? So when you get your answer, that's 43 minutes that he jumped on the trampoline. Okay? Inequality. Again, even on this one, I wanted to test this less than. Did you remember it was a turnaround phrase? If you didn't, this was written backwards on your paper. Again, at least is at least. Did you know the symbol for that? Did you know the symbol for that? Those were the two things that were causing the problems. Then how do we solve? We add 3 to both sides. Some people subtracted. So again, I circled that and wrote add 3. And then divide by 5. The answer is x is greater than or equal to 15. We good? Y'all, great job on your exit ticket. Okay, great job. And if you missed 1 or 2, just put it in the brain. Anybody got a question for me on them? Okay. Is there anyone that wants to submit their warm-up for candy? It's going to be either number 1 or 2. I'd love to have more than 2 people this time. Bring them up. Come on. Don't be shy. I will not call you out. I'm just going to check them real quick and tell you to come up and get candy. So make sure your name's on them, though. Okay?
Wait, did I put my name on it? No, I didn't put my name on it. I understand.
You understand it?
On that mistake for number.
Okay, here.
Okay.
I had forgot to put the 1.
Okay.
The 1.
I got you.
I knew what was right.
All right. I think I'm going to run out of candy this time. Yesterday, only 2 people came up. Maybe that means they're feeling better. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. Okay, which one do I want to do for candy? Number 1 or number 2? No, number 3 is too easy. All right, so for the warm-up, y'all, I've already written the thought process. First of all, number 1, the answer was the second choice. And by the way, when I looked at the papers that were submitted, even though this wasn't for candy, a lot of people had that. So that makes me happy. Okay, let me show you the thought process, folks. Nickels, how many ever we have, multiplied by 0.05, that gives me the value of the nickels I have. 0.10 times the number of dimes I have gives me the amount of money I have in dimes. When I add up the money, I'm supposed to get $1.35. Okay, so now let's see, what does the X stand for? Well, the X stands for the number of nickels. So I put an X right there. Now here's the problem. I don't have anything for the dimes. I don't have a variable for the dimes. So let's see what it says about the dimes. It says she has 6 more dimes than nickels. Now, y'all, that is a trick statement. It is a trick statement. Okay, because if you write it the way it reads to write 6 plus D. Okay, well, that's not right, y'all, because she's got more dimes. So if you think about the way this is written, look what it, dimes equals what? The number of nickels she has, but 6 more. She's got more dimes. So y'all, that has to be written that way. Even though it says 6 more dimes, it's because of that word than. 6 more dimes than nickels. So that puts the 6 added to the nickels, and it's because it says than nickels. So that was tricky. So that goes right here. We've got the amount of nickels, we add 6 to them, that's how many dimes I've got, multiplied by the value of a dime. How many people got that? Okay. All right. And this one, y'all, I love this question, and here's the reason why. Before the equal sign, they give you a parentheses phrase. After the equal sign, they give you one that's not a parentheses phrase. So you get to actually see in one sentence how they're written. Notice this says 3 times. It doesn't say 3 times a number. It says 3 times a sum. Y'all, that's a parenthesis phrase. 3 times a sum. It doesn't say 3 times a number. Y'all, if you chose one of these, that would say 3 times a number. 3x, 3 times a number. This says 3 times a sum, so it's got to be one of these two with the parenthesis. Okay, now, the other side, after the is equal to, notice it says 5 times a number. That is not a parenthesis. 5 times a number is 5x. So see, that's out. Number 1 is your correct answer. A lot of people got that right. A lot of people got that right. Great job, y'all. Okay. And I just threw in a couple things for you to think about. This one, even though there's parentheses, y'all, we are adding powers. And we are multiplying the coefficients, even though there's parentheses. You got to keep in mind, folks, you don't want to train your brain that every time you see a parenthesis, you're multiplying the powers. That's not how it works. Y'all, it's when the power is hanging on outside of the parenthesis all by itself. That's when you're multiplying powers. This is multiplying powers. This is not. They're just using parentheses to separate the terms here. This is adding powers. Okay? Here, this is 4 raised to the 3rd power. This is not 4 times 3. Okay? So if you're wanting to write some notes on this, you know, like here, you could write add powers, multiply coefficients. Because that's what you're doing there. Okay, here you are multiplying powers. And then your coefficient is going to be raised to the 3rd power. And that little caret key means raised to the 3rd power. How many people got those two right? Okay, how many people got tricked on the first one and multiplied powers? Be honest. They're not being honest. We good, y'all? Okay. Okay, good. Good. Okay, so you're going to turn it on this side, and you just pick up the left side, and you're going to fold it over. Okay. Okay, now, honest to goodness, if you glue this like it is, I want to say it's going to really be close. If you notice, it's going to come to the very top of your page and the very bottom. Okay, so if you're like, man, that's close, y'all feel free. There is room at the top and the bottom to trim this thing up just a smidge. Just a smidge. So if you want to make darn certain that it's going to fit on your paper, so you could trim like right across these dots or right above them. And then at the bottom, you could trim just underneath that. And then, of course, it's going to fit. I mean, it's going to fit then. Okay? Also, right here, you can make flaps. So, if you lift up the top here, and you cut along the dotted line, now you don't cut the second part, and you cut along the dotted line, it gives you some flaps. Okay, so let's just get started. Okay, this first flap is just for you to understand what consecutive integers are. They are integers, and remember, y'all, integers are the pretty numbers that you like. They're the whole numbers, and they're the whole numbers that are negative. Okay, they can also be zero. Zero is an integer. Okay, so consecutive integers are integers that, in William's words, are in a row, one after the other. Okay, Examples of consecutive integers. 1, 2, 3, 4. What would the next four of those be? Yep, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, notice we've now got this word even in here. And they've got negatives because they're trying to remind you that don't forget about your negatives. -6, -4, -2, 0. We are
Plus 2.
2, 4, 6. Okay, notice consecutive odd. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, and so on. Are we okay? All right. Okay. Okay, so we can close this flat. That's just an introduction. Okay, the second one, consecutive integers. Okay. This is how the problem gets set up. First of all, this problem says find 3 consecutive integers with a sum of 63. Okay, well, I'm well aware that some of y'all can get this on your calculator. I need you to stop, and I need you to understand how this works with variables. Because when these get complicated, if all you're going on is, well, I know I can go on my calculator and divide by 3, y'all, it's going to mess you up. If a quiz question is not find the 3 consecutive integers, but which equation would you use, you're not going to be able to answer it if you just hang on to the trick I showed you. You got to understand the variables. Okay, so here's the thought. Okay, I don't know the integers. We're going to assume I don't know. Okay, so for the first integer, I'm going to put a variable in its place, x. Okay, I'm going to put a variable in its place. I'm going to call it x. Okay, if I want the next integer in line, what do I do to get there? So for instance, William, what did you give me for those 3 numbers when you just spouted them off?
20, 21, and 22.
Okay, 20. So we're pretending we don't know it's 20. We're calling it x. How did he get to the next one? What did he do? What math did he do in his head? He said 20 and then he said, so how did he get to the next one? Mathematically.
Added 1.
You added 1. He added 1 to get to the next one. So y'all, if that's x, then that's x plus 1. This one plus 1 added to it is the second integer. Okay? So the second integer is x plus 1. Okay, now here's kind of a little tricky. So now, he said this one's 20. He added 1 and got to 21. How do we get to this one?
Add 1.
Add 1, but here's the deal. All we got is x. That represents the first one. How would we get to the third one from this one?
Added 2.
Right, so that right there is x plus 2. And notice it says the sum is what? Equals 63. So that's how you set that up. Now, y'all, it might look complicated, but it's actually very simple. This is a 1x and a 1x and a 1x. What do I get when I combine like terms? 1x, 1x, and 1x. You get 3x. When I combine like terms here, a positive 1 and a positive 2, what do I get? Y'all, it's nothing but a 2-step equation. That's all it is. Did y'all see how I did that? Combine like terms, 1x, 1x, and 1x is 3x. Combine like terms, 1 and 2 is 3, equals 63. How do I solve this? What's my first step? Subtract 3 on both sides. And I get 3x equals 60. What's my last step? Divide by 3. So what do I get?
20.
Y'all see that? Now, the only thing you need to be careful about is, remember, that's your first one. What do I do to get the second one?
Add 1.
And what do I do to get the third one?
Add 2.
Well, you would add 2 from there, or just add 1 again. Okay. Now, you might say, well, Miss Batcher, that's way too easy. Why do I need all that? Add 1, add 1. Y'all, when you get to negative integers, that adding 1 is going to be important because it's going to actually go the opposite of way you think it is. Okay, but y'all, this is mathematically how you do it, and you want to have this knowledge for if these get a little bit more complicated with things on the other side of an inequality symbol. Okay, but that's it. I mean, you just set it up just like this. That's it. Question could be, especially on a standardized test. Y'all, on a standardized test with this, they're not going to do multiple choice because I want you to think about multiple choice. We're using all 3. Y'all, if the question is find 3 consecutive integers that equal 63 and your answer choice is 20, 21, 22, and another answer choice is 19, 20, 21, what are you just going to do with the answer choices to figure it out?
Add them up.
You're just going to add them up and find the one that equals 63. See, y'all, on a standardized test, they're not going to do that. On a standardized test, they're going to say, what is the largest? Or what is the smallest? That's what they're going to say. And it's probably just going to be a blank box. Because, see, if they give you one of the numbers, you can practice that as well. If it says, what's the largest, and they give you a set of answers, you can just grab one and figure it out. It's probably going to be a box with nothing. And it's going to say, what's the largest of those? In that case, what's your answer? 22. Or what's the smallest of those? Okay? That's the way the question's going to be on a standardized test. Okay? All right. Here we go. Next is even integers. Okay? All right. So again, we've probably got William and a few others that have already figured this one out. Okay? But we need to understand how to set this up. Okay? So, it's the same idea. We're going to assume we don't know what the first one is of the 3. We're going to assume we don't know. Okay, but even integers, William, have you figured out what they are yet? No? Okay.
I think it's 13, 14, 15.
Okay, now remember, what mistake did he make, y'all? I'm going to use him as an example. What mistake did he make? Those are, what did you say, 13, 14? I think he did consecutive integers.
Right though.
I got 12.
They all add up to it.
Yeah.
I got 12, 14, 16.
Okay, now, let me tell you why they're right. 12, 14, 16, because of that word right there. William, look.
Even.
Do you see what I mean? So it's probably 12, 14, and 16. Okay, so now that we've got them, I want y'all to think about this. Let's pretend we don't know. Y'all, the first one's 12. What math do you do to get to the next one? If you don't add 1,
Add 2.
you add 2. You see? You add 2. So y'all, the next one is x plus 2. Okay, so now, what did y'all say they were? 12, 14, 16? Did y'all say? Okay. So 12, add 2, you get 14. And then this is a little tricky. What are you going to do next? Okay, you're going to add 2 more, but what you got to remember is, from here, you got to add 4 more. So this is going to be x plus 4, because we're writing it in terms of x. So this one's going to be x plus 4. And then the sum is 42. Okay? By the way, this is 3 consecutive integers. If it was 4 consecutive integers, what would have to be tacked on here? You got x plus 2, I got x plus 4. What if it was 4 consecutive even integers?
What'd you say?
Well, yeah, nobody's listening, because this is an easy one. Bradley? It'd be x plus 6. The question I asked was, this is giving us 3 integers. What if it said 4? Well, x plus 2, x plus 4, what would be the next thing you'd write? X plus 6. What if it said 5 consecutive even integers? You'd have x plus 6 and x plus... There you go. Just throwing that out, okay? All right, so let's finish this up. Folks, all we're doing is combining like terms. 1x, 1x, and 1x is 3x. When I combine the 2 and the 4, I get 6 equals 42. Two-step equation. What's my first step to take in a two-step equation? We're going to subtract 6 on both sides. Y'all need to be doing this with me. Oh, 36, thank you. I don't want to make another mistake today. And last step, we're going to divide by 3. Okay, now we got to be careful. And we got to go back to that word and make sure we're double and triple checking the word. First of all, I'm in a good shape. 12 is an even number. What would be the next integer? 14. What would be the next one? Boom. What's the largest of the 3? What's the smallest? There you go. We good? It's not that hard. And I'll go ahead and tell you, folks, here's the downfall of what students do. They skip this and memorize that. It's 3x plus 6. Y'all, that only works for 3 integers. And they memorize that. Well, it's 3x plus 3. Y'all, that only works if it's 3. You don't want to memorize that, because if they make it 4, that's not it. If they make it 5 consecutive integers, y'all, that's not it. It's not 3x plus 3. So y'all, don't memorize this left side here. You want to memorize, how do I set it up? Okay? All right. Now we're going to odd. And the beauty is we've got a negative example. So you're going to see this can be a little tricky. Okay. Consecutive odd. Some of y'all have y'all already figured out what they are? Okay, it's fine. Let's assume we don't know, and we're going to do the same thing. The smallest integer, we don't know what it is. Let's forget about negatives. Let's just go. Let's say the smallest odd is 15. Okay, what do I do in my mind to get to the next one? Add what?
2.
I add 2. Okay, 15, I add 2 to get to 17, to the next odd one. Okay? Y'all, with negatives, it's still the same. You still going to add 2. Okay, now what some people are confused about is they're like, wait a minute, if I add 2, 2 is something that's got to do with even. Biggest downfall of students. They think because the evens are add 2, add 4, the odds are add 1, add 3. Y'all, they're not. They're not add 1, add 3. It's still add 2. Okay, why is that? Well, I want you guys to just let me just help explain this. If you guys will give me a second. These are evens, but what do I have to do to get from 12 to 14? I have to add 2. Y'all, these are odds, but what do I have to do to get from 13 to 15? I still have to add 2, y'all. So what you're adding, I get that we're on odd numbers and we're adding an even amount, but that's how you jump to odds and evens. You've got to jump up 2. So y'all, the odds and evens are going to have the same pattern. It's plus 2, and then what would the next one be? Plus 4. Odds and even have the same thing. Biggest misconception, Students like see the +2, +4 here, and then when they get to the odds, they think it's +1, +3. It's not. It's still +2, +4. Okay? So we've got x +2 and x +4. And in this case, it equals -21. Okay? Okay, so here we go. Combine like terms. 1x, 1x, and 1x is 3x. Combine 2 and 4, we get 6 equals -21. What's my first step? Subtract 6 on both sides. -21 and -6 is -27. What's my last step? Divide by 3. Okay, here's where the mistake comes. And some of y'all that have gone ahead of me may have already made this mistake. Y'all, the next two is not -11 and -13. You're going in the wrong direction. Y'all, you're going in the wrong direction. Okay, remember, when they're negative, the larger the number, the smaller it gets. Okay, so that goes back to how did we set this equation up. Y'all, if I want the next one, I add 2. I want y'all to take a look at this. Put that in your calculator. Put -9 plus 2 in your calculator. It's -7, y'all. It's not -11. Now you gotta add 2 more. See, when you get to the negatives, you gotta be very careful. And, you know, another way to look at this, we got -9. That's one of them. Okay, y'all, that's the smallest. So this way is getting bigger. So -7 would be the next one. -5 is the next one. Now the next mistake that gets made is that when they say what's the largest, and people pick that one because the 9 gets in your brain. -9's not the largest. What's the largest? Largest is -5. What's the smallest of the 3? You see what I'm saying? You gotta be very careful. Gotta be very careful. Okay? All right, well, that is your graphic organizer. And now you may glue this in your notebook. So let's glue this bad boy in our notebook. The 2 examples with the simplified answer. Okay, now folks, we're going to step this up a notch. Okay? We're going to step this up a notch. Whoa. Okay. Okay, if you think you got it, and I'll be honest with you, I did expect. Let me left, but if you want to do it. Okay, I'm expecting one of these to cause you a problem. I know that. That's why I'm giving it to you. Yeah, and just as I thought, on the first one, I need you to relook at your X. On the second one, I need you to relook at your Y. And I knew this was going to happen. That's why I did it. Okay, you need to relook at your Y here. You miscounted. And you need to relook at your Y here. Your Y here is incorrect.
Look at
This one's right. Boom. Both of them right.
Yeah.
Okay. You got some answers?
Yeah.
Did she check them?
Yeah.
Oh, so they've already been checked? Okay, good job. Who?
Well, how's she talking about? I know. She's a slime block then. Little slimes.
I'll take a few more before we come up front.
You know she look like she look like what's the woman in Minecraft?
Yeah.
She looks like
Yeah.
Baby Dragon. Yeah, Alex.
Yeah.
No, Baby Dragon. Dude, Baby Dragon's bad. She's not bad. Yo.
Problem on the X. Problem on the Y. Problem on the X. Problem on the Y.
Don't ever disrespect Baby Dragon like that.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Hey, did you figure out what happened? Yep, you did. Yep, you sure did. Yep. Yep. That's a Z, right? I mean, I see you changed it. No. Okay, well, see, you've got some major problems.
Well, that's ironic.
What does the 2 represent? Because, see, that's a Z.
Don't ever disrespect Baby
So
Dragon.
what does that 2 represent?
Baby Dragon.
Okay.
That is.
Okay, yes. No, you didn't have
That's Clayton's sister. I know the
My
game.
recommendation is you look at every.
I don't think I have. I do have. I don't know what it's called though. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The tall house.
I played the game, right? But that's the way it goes. Originally, I think, and I showed, and I think I showed the same thing here. That's why you have the wheels. So the simple thing to do is they ignore that.
What's Clayton's
That's not
sister's name?
ignored. That's really-
What's Clayton's sister's name?
That's why.
LC5.
Good job. Okay, folks, I'm sure that there are folks we have not seen, but I need your attention. I need your attention. Y'all, I put this up here purposely for you to have to think through something. What did I want you to think through? I need for you to understand that it's a base. If a variable does not have a power, what is the power understood to be? Okay, what students typically do is ignore it. They just ignore it. So when we walked around at first, people were ignoring it and they were just writing x to the third in their final simplified form. Y'all, the power on this x is a 1. So when we've got to add the powers, we get an x to the 4th. That's what I was checking for. That's what me and Miss Fletcher were checking for. We add the powers on the y, we got a 9 and a 4, that's 13. We add the powers on the z, 5 and 8 is 13, and then we multiply our coefficients and get a 10. So y'all, that right there is what we were checking for, to see if you knew that power on that x was a 1. Okay, the same thing works here. Y'all, the y, because there's no power on it, some people just ignore the powers for the y. Y'all, there's an understood power of 1. So when I distribute to the y, 1 times 2 is 2. There should be a 2 on that y. Then the z, I multiply and get z to the 18th. And then the x, I multiply and get x to the 6th. And then don't forget, it's not 5 times 2, it's 5 raised to, which is 25. Okay, I'm just going to put one last one on here. I'm not going to walk around, but I want to show you something. Okay, need to show you something. Okay? I just want to make, I want to be able to talk about this. I'm just going to put one problem up there. I want you to write it on the board. And we're not going to come around, but I want you to get your answer written on the board. Because I'm pretty certain probably half the classes get ready to make this mistake. Pretty certain. We got some people that are getting ready to make this mistake. So let's write down our answer. Do we all have an answer? Okay, let's hustle. Hopefully you know to multiply powers. So we've got w to the 4th, x to the 8th. I'm sure y'all got that. Now this is where I need you to watch very carefully. I did not make a mistake and leave the negative off of that. 256 is not negative. And I need everybody to watch carefully, because y'all are going back to your calculator and what you're saying is, oh no it is. I need y'all to watch something. Negative 16 squared, and the way you're supposed to put it in, negative 16 in parentheses squared. Because remember, it's technically negative 16 times negative 16. Folks, do not let your calculator give you the wrong answer. Anytime you have a negative number and you're raising it to a power, you need to put that negative number in parentheses all by itself. It's the best thing to do, okay? We'll talk about this more. If y'all will, clear my whiteboards, put everything up, put my caps on my markers. Y'all have been absolutely fabulous today. I appreciate it. Let's not line up at my door. We still got 2 minutes.